Ooh, I'm good. 3/4 exactly.
Oh, you're good?
Hey everyone, I'm Sav and this is Lagom Eats. Today we're going to be making the perfect dessert for all your celebrations. We're going to be making a champagne cake. We're going to stuff it with strawberries and top it with an elderflower whipped cream. With New Year's coming up, this is going to go wonderfully with your champagne toast at midnight. Let's take a look at the ingredients. We're going to need 2 cups of your favorite champagne, half a cup of whole milk, 2 1/4 cups of flour, 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 cup of canola oil, half a pound of strawberries, 3 eggs and 2 egg whites, half a teaspoon of kosher salt. For the frosting, we'll need 3 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of non-fat milk powder, and 2 tablespoons of Saint Germain. Let's get baking. So there are a few things that we need to do before we actually start making our cake. First thing is we're going to reduce our champagne down. A lot of champagne cakes, I feel like, don't actually taste like champagne. It's more just like a kind of vanilla white cake. So we're going to reduce the champagne down so we really concentrate the flavor. We're also going to be making a champagne simple syrup that we're going to brush over our cakes to just really have these cakes taste like champagne, because why make a champagne cake if it doesn't even taste like champagne? So let's go ahead and pop our champagne. Let's see. Hopefully this doesn't explode on me. Happy New Year! All right, so we're gonna use 2 cups of this. So we'll measure out 2 cups. It's very bubbly. So now we're gonna pour this in our pot. And we'll turn on the stove to like medium. We're gonna bring it up to a simmer and we're gonna simmer it until this reduces down to 3/4 of a cup. All right, so this has been simmering for about 8 to 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and see if we have now 3/4 of a cup. Ooh, I'm good. 3/4, like exactly. So we can't pour this into our cake hot because it'll like scramble our eggs and we'll have a scrambled eggs cake, which we don't want. So I like to do these couple steps the night before, the day before, a couple hours before, whatever, so it has enough time to cool down and become room temperature before we use it. All right, so now we're gonna make that champagne simple syrup that we're going to soak our cakes in. So they stay super moist and then they also taste a little bit more like champagne too. So we're going to use a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, and I kind of forgot to include this in the ingredients list, so I'm sorry, but 1/4 cup of sugar into your pot. Take your champagne again, and we'll use a 1/4 cup of this. Ooh. Okay. And the rest of this is for you to drink. Oh, and hopefully not get it all over yourself. All right, so we'll turn on our stove to like medium. So now we're gonna let this simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes until all that sugar is dissolved. All right, so this is done. So again, we want this to cool before we make our cake. So we'll set this aside for now. All right, so now the last little simple syrup we need to make is our Saint Germain, our elderflower simple syrup. So this is gonna go in our whipped cream frosting. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. We'll use about 2 tablespoons of Saint Germain. And then we're gonna pour in about 2 tablespoons of water. So again, we'll turn on our stove to about medium. And we're gonna let this simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes again until all that sugar is dissolved. All right, so it's time to make our cakes. We'll start by mixing our dry ingredients. So we're gonna need 2 1/4 cups of flour, using the spoon and level technique that I've shown you guys a few times. If you rather measure it out using like a scale, which is more accurate, you're gonna wanna use about 270 grams of flour. All right, we need a 1/4 cup of our cornstarch, Again, if you're measuring, use 30 grams. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This one you can scoop out like that. Just make sure you measure it, or level it, sorry. And then half a teaspoon of baking soda. And we're gonna do about half a teaspoon of kosher salt as well. We're just gonna whisk this up a bit, get everything nice and evenly incorporated. Now we're going to mix our wet ingredients. Start off with our sugar, and again, for some reason I forgot this in the ingredients list. We're gonna put 1 3/4 cup of sugar into our bowl. We're using 3/4 cup of canola oil. You can use canola, vegetable, grapeseed oil, corn oil, any of kind of the neutral flavor oils. So we're going to use a 1/4 cup of our sour cream, and this is what is going to keep our cake super moist. We're gonna put in our 3 whole eggs, and then we're going to use just 2 of the whites. We'll pour in our cooled champagne reduction, and then we're gonna measure out half a cup of our whole milk. All right, dump that in there too. Then we're gonna whisk that all together. All right, we'll pour in our dry ingredients. We'll do about just half at a time. Whisk that together. All right, and now the rest. And we'll whisk it. And as always with any baked goods, we do not want to over mix our cake because the gluten will build up. We'll get a dry and dense cake. So just mix it until just all the flour is incorporated, but not past that point. All right, so we're going to be using 2 9-inch pans, or you can use 3 8-inch if you'd rather have a 3-layer cake. I put a little parchment paper on the bottom and put some oil. You can also grease and flour it if you don't have parchment paper. So I want these cakes to be even, so we're gonna use our scale to make sure we get the same amount. Just evenly divide this. All right, so they're gonna be about 625 grams, 626 grams each. So now we're gonna bake these at 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. So our cakes are out of the oven. We waited about 5 minutes until we took them out of their pan. So put them on a rack now. We want them to cool completely. You cannot frost these cakes while they are even warm. You want them to completely come to room temperature. So let's set these aside. All right, while our cakes are cooling, let's make our elderflower whipped cream. We're gonna use 3 cups of heavy whipping cream. Now this is gonna make plenty of whipped cream frosting for your cakes. I always like to make a little bit more because there are so many times I'm making a recipe and I run out of frosting, and it's the most annoying thing. So this will make extra, don't worry about that. You may have, like I said, a little extra, but you can use that. Just dip some strawberries in it, it's delicious. Let's go ahead and turn this on to like medium. We're gonna beat this until it reaches soft peaks. All right, our cream has reached our soft peaks, so we're going to add some non-fat milk powder. So whipped cream is very delicate. It can like deflate in the refrigerator or as it sits when we frost our cakes. So to counteract that, we're going to stabilize it with some non-fat milk powder. And then we're also going to add in about 2 tablespoons of our elderflower simple syrup, the St. Germain simple syrup that we made earlier. Again, make sure it's cooled. All right, so now we're going to beat that to stiff peaks. All right, our whipped cream makes stiff peaks now. So we are going to get ready to assemble our cake. All right, it's time to assemble our cakes. So you can use whatever cake stand you want. Put a little dollop of our elderflower whipped cream on there. Put our first layer down. And then we're gonna take our champagne simple syrup that we made earlier, and we'll brush our cake all over with this champagne so it tastes really like champagne. So this simple syrup or cake soak is kind of the secret that bakeries use to get those super, super moist cakes. The cake is going to absorb all this simple syrup and just be super moist. So even if your cake comes out a little dry, put some simple syrup on it, it's going to be super amazing. All right, we'll put a little bit more of our frosting on there. And just spread it out evenly. Now we're gonna be adding some fresh strawberries. I just cut them up into some bite-sized pieces, and we'll sprinkle these all around. All right, we're gonna top it with our other layer and do our simple syrup again. All right, and we're just gonna finish by putting a layer of frosting. I'm gonna do a rustic kind of look, and we're gonna do a semi-naked cake so you can kind of see a little bit of the exposed sides. I think that looks really pretty. But if you want it fully frosted, do a crumb layer, so just a thin layer of frosting around it, refrigerate it for about 20 minutes, and then frost it again completely. We're done frosting. I'm just gonna go ahead and decorate it with some strawberries and a few of these white little flowers I found in my garden. Our cake is done. It looks gorgeous, so now it's time to slice. See, I don't need that big of a piece, but that's still pretty big. Right, you can see those two beautiful layers with the fresh strawberries in there. That is a huge slice. Well, guess I have to eat it all. All right, let's take a bite of it. The cake is super moist from the sour cream, and then we soaked it in the champagne simple syrup. I love the fresh strawberries. It brings a little bit of a tartness because the strawberries aren't super sweet. Then the fresh elderberry frosting gives it a nice creaminess. Like I said, this is the perfect cake for any celebration. New Year's coming up, or I'm actually gonna be making this for one of my friends' engagement parties. You're probably gonna be popping a bottle of champagne, so serve this champagne cake along the side. I hope you guys enjoyed my champagne cake with strawberries and fresh elderberry whipped cream. The full recipe can be found on my food blog at logameats.com. I've got new delicious dishes coming out every week, so hit a like and subscribe below. I'll see you guys next time. Hey, dough.